Okay, Mrs. H Psychology, AQA Psychology, Paper 2, Section B, the Biopsychology section. This is a little video to help you with this particular question. Discuss research into disruption of biological rhythms, and it could be a 16 marker. So let's see what you need for this. Okay, so this question is all about the research, and you can discuss all three rhythms. I'm going to include this little bit for you, but remember this is just really for revision purposes, so the whole question here would be very much focused on the research. So first of all, circadian rhythms, free running 24-hour biological rhythms, so for example sleep-wake cycle, controlled predominantly by endogenous pacemakers and exogenous zeitgebers, and you've got a little bit more detail there. So pause the video, just have a look at that. And basically these zeitgebers adjust the internal clocks to whatever environment we're living in, whatever time zone we're living in. We call that entrainment. So this is more revision, but I would include a tiny little bit of that before you get on to the research. So going on, let's have a look at the research for circadian rhythms. Okay, so we've got CIFRA. Information here: caves, no natural light or cues, free running internal body clock, and his sleep wake pattern altered to about 25-30 hours. Got Ashoff, bit of detail there. You've got plenty here. Remember, with Ralph bred hamsters to have a circadian rhythm of about 20 hours instead of the normal 24, then transplanted their suprachiasmatic nucleus cells into the rats. Okay, so a little bit of detail. There was the SCN cells into rats this time, and those rats then changed to have a 20-hour rhythm. Okay, so be careful of your animals, don't muddle them up. Some of the other videos I've seen have muddled these. That is correct, what I've got here. Morgan also removed the SCN from normal hamsters and then replaced the cells back into the same hamsters, and their rhythms returned. Okay, and we've also got a human study with 15 months of premature babies. So do have a look at that. That's the research, that's the detail you need. So let's go on to evaluate that. Okay, so evaluating the circadian rhythm, obviously you're going to talk about validity. So we've got problems with artificiality. So for example, with the cave studies, they still had artificial lighting, and we know that that also affects our rhythms. Also, a lot of it's based on animal research, lack of generalizability, but don't stop there. We need to say that those animals don't have social cues, which humans have. So that is what is very specifically what will lack the validity there. And also, obviously, ethics and weighing up the cost benefit. We object to ethical studies on animals and harm caused, but the scientists make some sort of cost benefit analysis. Do the benefits outweigh the costs? So develop that a little bit. You've also got individual differences in, for example, sleep-wake patterns between humans. As well, and that's sometimes underplayed, but on the other hand, what's great is some of that research has led to practical applications like light therapy, which will help people who suffer from things like seasonal affective disorder, etc., etc. Okay, so evaluation of that. Let's go on to the next. Okay, so the next rhythm, infradian, and we're going to go infradian first and then ultradian. So infradian, rhythms that take longer than 24 hours, like the menstrual cycle and also hibernation. So a little bit more detail there, you don't need that, but it's useful for revision purposes. Here we're focused on the research, so we've got McClintock, making sure you've got a bit of nice detail, like 29 women during their menstrual cycle, 68% respond to the pheromones of other women. Okay, so if you need it, you can go into this detail. You don't need it necessarily for an essay like this. That's really only if you get a question which is outline one method, and then you would need that detail. Okay, so it's useful for your revision purposes, so it's useful to note down. Another bit of McClintock, but also we've got Rainbow to support it, which was a case study of a woman living in a cave, and you've got a little bit of detail there for that. So pause the video, take what you need. I would say go with a little bit more detail if necessary. Let's just evaluate those pieces of research then. So one of the problems here, we've got small samples, meaning the overall results could be just due to one or two individuals having very disproportionate results, which obviously affects the rest of the data. So it limits how much we can generalize. Wilson, for example, with the McClintock, found significant errors in mathematical calculations and also that his definition of synchrony. So therefore, that also affects the validity. We've got another point with Wilson. We've also got here that McClintock really was incomplete as an explanation. It doesn't say how closely the women needed to, nor how long they need to live together. Reinberg was just one case, and it's a self-report as well, so we've got subjective bias. But on the other hand, we've got the practical applications. Okay, so and that really applies to the circadian rhythm above. Okay, going on, the final rhythm, let's have a look at that ultradian. So these are rhythms that last less than 24 hours. So there's more than one cycle every 24 hours. So for example, the different stages in our sleep. We've got the Dement and Kleitman study. You've got details there, so you can pause the video, have a look at the details that we need, and then we're going to go on to evaluate it. So obviously it shows the universality of sleep, that people generally show those same patterns. And obviously it was the starting point for a lot more research into sleep patterns. It was great, it was a controlled experiment, which was very good on the one hand, but unfortunately because it is in a controlled lab sort of conditions, it means they were not in their normal bed location, and that was very artificial. They're probably not going to sleep in the same sort of way, and therefore it would lack ecological validity. But it is important for you to outline why it lacks ecological validity. And here we've got the strength of it. Obviously we've got a lovely lot of detail, very controlled, so you know they could spot with EEG, able to spot periods where they recorded K complex, where there's external stimuli, and so on and so forth. And finally, there is the mark scheme as well for A level 13 to 16 marks, whatever. So you can pause the screen and have a look at that if you want it.